Today we're working on a 2000 Jeep Wrangler V6. It's a 4.0 liter. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to replace the ignition coil. Most people call it ignition coil pack. Basically, it's the spark plug cables with the ignition coil built into it. So we're going to replace this. Really, it's a pretty simple thing to do. You have 4 bolts. They're 13 millimeter bolts. You can see there's 2 of them right here. And then if you come up underneath over here, you can see there's 2 more of them. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take those out. After we take those out, you can see on our piece here, there's a connection on the end. We're going to visit how to take that off. And then we're going to put it back together. This should be a really fast video. Some of the symptoms that you're going to see that will tell you that this is your problem, and you can see it says here on the label, but basically misfires, erratic idle, hesitation, or even a check engine light. In our case, we had a check engine light that said we were getting misfires on this. It idles really rough. We've already replaced the spark plugs, which are up underneath this piece right here. Those are fairly cheap to do, about $20. This, we got it off Amazon, is about $70. My local automotive stores wanted about twice that price, so I decided to go with the Amazon version. And this actually has a 2-year, 24,000 mile warranty, so that's what I went for. I'll put a link in the description to this if you're interested in buying the same thing that I have. And this seems to work for more than just this vehicle. Looks like Jeep Cherokee as well as the Jeep Wrangler, and I think there might have been something else out there. So we're going to get to taking those bolts out right now. All you really need is this tool. 13 millimeter with a nice extension on it to get to all 4 of those bolts. We're going to take them out right now. All right, I'm going to go back on what I said just a little bit. We're going to have one more tool, a screwdriver, flathead. What we're going to do is basically loosen the clamp that's here on going to the air filter. And the reason why we're doing that is because you can see it's kind of in the way. So it'd be a lot easier if we just get that off of there. So you loosen it up, take it off. It doesn't really give you a lot of trouble. Then you pull this middle breather hose here off that goes to the valve cover and just swing this out of the way. If yours doesn't swing out of the way, you might want to loosen the screw on this clamp also. Just loosen, and really that's enough. So we're going to just swing it out of the way. Now we're going to go back and get our 4 bolts. After I break them free with the ratchet, I like to come back and just kind of loosen them up myself, and then I'm just going to pull them out by hand. All right, that's all 4. We should just be able to pull this out. Yeah, see, there it goes. Sometimes it kind of sounds like a popping noise as you take it out. So you can see we pretty much have the whole thing. Now what we need to do is wrestle with, well, we want to make sure it's out of all the holes. And what we've done is we've turned it to where we could see our connection right here. So what we're going to do is now take this off. All right, so it's hard for me to show you exactly how to disconnect that right there. You can see I've already done it. But basically, it's the same kind of connector that this is right here. What I would do is I would take like a flathead screwdriver. I would get up underneath one side like this and pull up, and you can see how that comes loose. And now you can pull your connection right out. All right, so it's hard for me to videotape pulling this out, but this is the connector. And you can see there's the little red tab, like I told you. We want to pull that out with a screwdriver. And then you can see right here, I got these big gloves on, so it's kind of hard to tell, but that's a push button right there. You push down on that piece right there. So when you push down on that, then you pull the whole thing out, and that'll get it out. It'll come. Sometimes it feels tight because there's so much grease and dirt, but it'll come out. If for some reason you needed to replace your spark plugs, you could see there's 6 of them going all the way there to the back. There's 6 all the way across, and you would just take the right spark plug wrench and pull those out with a ratchet. Now anytime you re-thread those back in my opinion, I don't ever do that with a ratchet. I would just thread them in by hand using the extension and then tighten them with a ratchet. So now I'm going to go back with the new one. You can see I'm just kind of draping it across everything just to make sure that I could get to the plug pretty easy. So here's the plug right here. I'm just going to put it in, and then once the plug is in there, see if I can get closer, I'm just going to push it all the way in there, and then I'm going to put the little red tab, if I could show it to you, I'm going to push it back in place. Now if this is not all the way down, it probably won't go. See, now it went. So we've snapped it into place. Now all we have to do is put that back into the appropriate holes. Make sure that these go on the spark plugs. You could tell they're the flexible ones. These are just the holes for the bolts. So you put that back in place, we put the bolts back on, we're ready to go. One more thing I want to mention before you button this back up, make sure, and you could look, see I don't have any bolts in this right now, you can slightly pull out on this just a little bit so you can make sure that your spark plugs are all covered. Now in my case I have 6 of them, and all 6 need to be covered with the appropriate spark plug connection. You can also look from the bottom to make sure that they're getting covered. You can see that one's covered right there, but if they're not covered, you're gonna have some trouble when you put this back together. So make sure they're covered and everything snaps back in place. As you put the bolts back in, I like to thread it by hand, as I said before, because I want to make sure that I'm not cross-threading anything. So just tighten it as much as you can by hand, and then when you're done tightening them by hand as much as you can, that's when you take out your socket and you finish up the rest of the job. Now you really should use a torque wrench when you tighten these back down. You can always look up the torque wrench specifications. I don't actually have one, so I'm not doing that, but I'm putting them basically a really nice, good snug. I'm not gonna do it to where I break anything, but just nicely snug. Of course, don't forget to connect back up your hose to your air filter box, and then of course you want to put this piece back that comes from the valve cover. After you do that, make sure you tighten both sides of your clamps, and then you're done. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you. If it did, please give us a thumbs up, maybe even subscribe. Check out our other videos. Thanks.